Hey, Shalom. All praises, honor, and glory belong to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors unto the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the hopefully elect, alright, the men that are pushing this truth in the four corners and the highways and byways. Alright, this is your brother Yakal coming at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Alright, and this lesson, is pretty much going into this contradiction, um, you know, uh, and the entire push of the LGBTQRS and the entire alphabet group. All right, because you know what they're pushing is homosexuality. They're pushing pedophilia. They're pushing transgenderism. And all these abominable things. And they're trying to get the message out there on so many platforms and so many uh, in so many different ways and mediums. All right, and one this new way is by selling merchandise. All right, T-shirts, mugs, and so on that really push and support that entire community. All right, that entire movement. All right, and they have the support of the government. They have the support of the leaders. All right, the leaders of this world. All right, but according to the scriptures, these things are to be condemned. All right, men are supposed to be put to death for taking part in these acts. Women are supposed to be put to death for taking part in these acts. All right, so that there would be no sin in Israel. But the main point of this lesson is, this T-shirt says there are more than two genders. All right, it says there are more than two genders, which what they're pushing is bisexuals. They're pushing heterosexual Salakia. And these all different words and different meaning that really just summarize to be abominable sexual activities. You understand? But yet still they're only selling it in men and women. All right, they're selling it in men and women, but the message is there are more than two genders, because nature itself teach you that it's just men and women. All right, that's the genders that the Mosai created. So there's no way you can convince, all right, the there's no way that you can come against the truth, all right, by saying that there are more than two genders. We're in it that nature itself teach you that there are only two genders. All right, so just gonna pull a couple of scriptures and make the point. So like here, this is Genesis chapter 2 and verse let me see where I want to start. So let me first just pull these scriptures over here so I could you know make the point. This is Genesis chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 26. It says, and the Moses said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So the Most High made man in his own image. In the image of the Most High created he him, male and female created he them. All right, and that's the end it be all, because that's what the Most High created. He didn't create any other gender. All right, he didn't create pedophiles. He didn't create rapists. He didn't create these different things. All right, but what the Most High do is to put laws in place for these things. All right, and I mentioned rapists, but the scriptures do tell you how to deal with a situation of rape. All right, and what the man is supposed to do and how they're supposed to go about it. All right, now I mentioned pedophile, and the scriptures do teach you that a young lady becomes a woman at the age of 12. All right, when she first see our monthly, meaning that she's ready to conceive. All right, but Esau is so wicked that He indulged himself into sexual acts with children, you know, way under 12 years old. And not only that, there are men that love to have sex with little boys, all right, which is completely abominable and unrighteous, all right. So back to the scripture, it says, male and female created he them. So that's what the Mosaic created, the only two genders, all right. And where it says man here, it's referring to the entire uh, um, species, as you would say, all right, according to Esau's term, the entire what do you say? Yeah, species would be the word I can, for lack of a better word. All right, and then within that species is male and female. All right, this is Genesis chapter 2 and verse yeah, Genesis chapter 2 verse 20 says, um and Adam gave names to all cattle and to the fowl of the air and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not an help meet found. And Yahweh power caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Most High power had taken from man made he a woman and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, This is now bones. This is this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she is taken from man. All right, and that further, reinforces the point that um, that's the only two genders that the Mosaic created. All right, going on more, it says, Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave to his wife, and that's the constitution of marriage. All right, that it's a man and a woman, coming together. All right, it didn't say, therefore shall a man leave his mother and father and take whatever other gender, the so-called white man would come up with. All right, it clearly say his wife, which is what, a woman, and they shall be one flesh. All right. um yeah, this is Genesis chapter 5 verse 1. It says, this is the book of the generations of Adam in the day that the Most High created man in the likeness of the power of Elohim made he him, male and female created he them, and blessed them and called their name Adam. All right, and this is the point. It says, male and female created he them. It didn't say multiple genders. So going back to this t-shirt, this is off, but the options that they have here is on point. All right, men, women, men, women. All right, that's it. There's no other gender. All right, there's no such thing as a transgender man and a transgender woman. All right, that's just Esau just trying to bring confusion. All right, telling you that your child should be genderless until the age of 3 or 4 or whatever it is, when they would now select their gender. All right, which a young child has don't really have the understanding of the different genders. All right, but as they grow, and they being nurtured and they're being taught by their parents, they would have that knowledge. That's why you find in the so-called black communities today, where the man is missing, these young boys grew up, really effeminate. All right, they grew up emotional and effeminate. They into dresses and skirts and shit because that's all they see. They see their older sister doing, dressing that way. They see their mother dressing that way. All right, and the mother, is these bulldozer females that has, that authoritative attitude, and that really imposing attitude. So the child is gonna think that, hey, that's how you ought to be, like a bitch. You understand? So that's how, that's the next way in which Esau Edom, the so-called white man, accomplishes, the destruction of the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and natives. All right, by destroying the family structure, and this in itself, is a next mean or way of destroying that structure. All right, it says male and female created Edom and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day that they were created. All right, last precept. This is Mark chapter 10 verse 6. It says, but from the beginning of creation the Most High made them male and female, and that's it, to the point. All right, to the point. That's all the Most High created. He didn't create any other gender. So this here, all right, is another scheme, as I mentioned, to destroy the so-called blacks, Latinos, and natives. All right, so with that, Lord's will let this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bahasham Rakakudash, double honors unto the apostles and to the elders of Great Millstone. Once again, and salutations to your brothers that are pushing this truth out in the four corners and the areas and byways. All right, Shalom.